Thank you. Thank you for that very nice introduction from Tabitha and from that very nice welcome from you. I wish that I could give you an equally nice speech. I wish I could, say something really nice today that would make everybody feel really good. But sometimes the truth isn't very nice, and it needs to be said anyway. And we're at a point in this movement where recently we've been avoiding the truth. The truth that our movement has not been willing to talk about is that it's probably too late for any amount of emissions reductions to prevent the collapse of our industrial civilization. And this doesn't mean that all hope is lost. This doesn't mean that there's nothing left to fight for. This means that there's more to fight for than ever. Because that collapse that we're on track for, there's a huge range of what that could look like. And that collapse could be an opportunity for us to build a better world in the ashes of this one. It could be an opportunity for mass reflection and to decide that maybe greed and competition weren't the best values to be basing our civilization off of. But unfortunately, history indicates otherwise. With all our localized examples of collapse around the world, whether they were environmentally induced like in Darfur or economically induced like in Germany in the 1930s, they didn't really say, boy, we had this coming because of the fundamental flaws in the way we were structuring our society. It was much more likely that they picked a scapegoat. And they said, those class of people, those are the ones who caused our problems. And if we can sacrifice their civil rights, if we can take it out on them, we can maintain some semblance of order and security. And the greatest atrocities that have been committed in those cases weren't because of the direct impacts of the water shortage or the hyperinflation. It was because of what those in power did to maintain their power and what those citizens did to accept it, what those citizens accepted in the name of maintaining order and security. So we're at this point for our movement. We're at this key point where our challenge is not just to reduce emissions anymore. That's still important. We still need to reduce emissions, but now we have this other challenge of maintaining our humanity through whatever lies ahead. Maintaining our humanity through that period of ugliness and desperation that we are inevitably on track for. And here's the part that I know nobody really wants to hear. But there's very little about the youth climate movement up to this point which indicates that we are at all ready for that challenge. This kind of event is not going to be enough to stand against the injustices that we are on track for. There's a lot of stuff about our movement that feels really good and that's really convenient, but it's not preparing us for the challenge that we will face ahead of us. We are the generation that has the task of steering our civilization through the greatest period of change humanity's ever experienced in the most rapid time. And that's a huge challenge. And we're not going to meet it in a convenient way. We're not going to meet it in a way that fits into our school schedules. We're not going to meet it in a way that we can avoid sacrifices. It's going to take some real sacrifices. And we can speak hypothetically. We can speak hypothetically about whatever scapegoat we're going to see over this century, whether it's going to be the immigrants or the Muslims or the unions or the socialists. But what's important is what we do to stand up to that. And it's not just a hypothetical anymore, because even without that justification of maintaining order and security for our whole civilization, with just the justification of maintaining our comfort and convenience, we've already, as a nation, decided that the people of Appalachia are expendable. We've already, as a nation, said that those people are going to have to be sacrificed so that the rest of us can be comfortable and convenient. And we've made some statements against that. A lot of people in this room have made statements against that. Some people in this room have made powerful statements against that with their actions and sacrificing some time in jail. But we've never, as a movement, taken a stand because we've always been deluded into thinking that we have to ultimately accept it, that we can express our opposition, but that ultimately we have to accept it. And that's not true. If we look around this room today, to these 10,000 people that are in this room, with these people just right here, without recruiting another person, we could send 30 people onto a mountaintop removal site shut it down temporarily, cost them a lot of money, start to clog up the court systems of West Virginia, and we could send 30 people the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, every day for a year. And I don't think we would ever get to that year point, because mountaintop removal would end before that. Long before we got to the end of that year, Barack Obama would be forced into a choice between either ending the war against Appalachia or bringing in federal troops to continue it. And for all my disgust and disappointment with Barack Obama, I don't think he would bring in federal troops to defend a mountaintop removal site. I think he would end it before it got to that point. And it's our job as a movement to force him into that position until we give him that choice. Until we force Obama into that choice between ending the war against the young, ending the war against the living, or waging it openly, then it's our fault. Then we condone it. Mountaintop removal and climate change and all the other injustices that we are experiencing are not being driven solely by the coal industry, solely by lobbyists, or solely by the failure of our politicians. They're also happening because of the cowardice of the environmental movement. We hold the power right here to create our vision of a healthy and just world if we are willing to make the sacrifices to make it happen. And if we're not, if we don't have the will right now to end mountaintop removal this year, if we don't have that courage and that commitment, then when are we going to get it? What level of injustice is it going to take? What crimes against our brothers and sisters are we going to have to condone in order for us to fight back? What level of injustice is it going to take for it to be more important than us graduating on time? What level of sacrifice? Who is going to have to be scapegoated? Who is going to be the next class of people that are going to be sacrificed? Where's the point where our movement is going to say that stopping this injustice is more important than my career plans, is more important than my comfort and convenience? This should be that point. This is not the first power shift. This is not the first time that we've had 10,000 people in one room reminding us that we are not alone. This is not the first time that we have come together and reminded ourselves that we are strong, that we are powerful, that we are not just an isolated finger, but that we are the fingers of one hand that can unite as a mighty fist, and that we do not need to back down. Let this be the last power shift where we leave without fighting back. Now is our time to take a stand. We're done making statements. Let this be the last time that we come together just to make statements. From now on, our movement needs to take a stand.